So I think I'd like to start this session by saying that I'm going to give you a quote which is reasonably thought-provoking. Resonated with me when we started thinking about this topic and when we were introduced to this topic by the iDAC team. Collaboration is not about gluing things together or gluing existing egos. It's about sort of getting a new idea which came up after people came into the room. I think that's where we start off from. So I think why does this synergy hold importance in the context of our present design landscape is what we are trying to address today. The lines have, well, blurred between design as what Salil just told us some time back in his fabulous presentation. You need to work with people, you need to collaborate with people, you need to make things happen in different ways, you need to innovate ways to make them work. So I think that's what we're going to address right now. I have a wonderful panel, or at least I think they're a wonderful panel. I hope everybody else enjoys themselves as well. We have Vandana Ranjit Singh, who's going to join us. Vandana's, with her husband, Ranjit Singh, is a founder of Ranjit Singh Associates. She's been practicing for the past 42 years. Unfortunately, her photograph's not there, but she's here. She's trained as an architect with CEPT, graduate of CEPT. Which year was this? Long ago, before we can remember. And of course, then she moved to Switzerland to do a training with Dolph Schmebli. Did I say it right? Okay. And then she worked with Architects Combined with Professor Kamwu Iyer. And of course, she's worked in Thimphu in Bhutan for a lot of years. And she's worked with a lot of that's actually where she developed she and Ranjit both developed their architectural language, their concepts very strongly over there, and a lot of her work reflects that. She's also been involved very heavily with KRVI as a visiting faculty for the last 35 years, I think. Did I get it right? Yeah. Okay. And she's here right now. Let's call her on stage. Please, big round of applause for Vandana. Anand Menon is our second panelist. As he's introduced himself, he's an artist at heart. He's trapped in the body of an architect, and he's a alumnus of KRVI, been taught by Vandana in his formative years. His penchant for art, photography, and sculptural craft inherently influenced design aesthetics at their studio AD&D, which is with his partner Shobhan Kothari. He's not here. Next time he should be here as well. AD&D Life, which is their practice, has been working for the past 22 odd years. They do a lot of bespoke architecture work and have been collaborating with different members of the fraternity over the last couple of years. Anand, please. Next, we have Kulin Kapadia, with over 25 years of experience in the architecture and interior design field. Kulin is the founder of Alcove Designs, focuses on research-based solutions. Also a graduate of CEPT and the Belazil School of Design in Jerusalem. Kulin continuously advances his education. Recently, he's completed an executive management course in design thinking at the IIM and is currently pursuing a disruptive strategy course at the Harvard Business School. Before Alcove, Kulin worked with a lot of international design firms, both in architecture as well as interior design. Alcove Design prioritizes client objectives, delivering solutions grounded in research, analysis, and a unique approach to productivity. He's also the managing director of Paper Space India, which offers collaborative design solutions across Asia for clients, for discerning clients in India. Kulin, did I need to wake you? We have Nishita, Nishita Kamdar is the principal architect of Studio Nishita Kamdar, an award-winning multidisciplinary architecture field. She's also the founder of Pod Pieces of Desire, a bespoke studio which does fantastic pieces of furniture, swings specifically. Studio is engaged in both architectural and interior design, as well as luxury interior design projects. Nishita? Last but not the least, we have Luca Zamparo from Ultra Confidential, architect, visionary, and result-driven professional with experience in the domain of architecture and in interior industry. Worked on projects across Italy, Switzerland, and India. He's worked across different genres of the profession and he's developed a passion for luxurious minimalism. I want to understand what that is, probably later. He moved to India in 2017, where he's been working on interiors as well as branding solutions, largely in the retail industry, retail and hospitality industry. Part of Ultra Confidential since 2017 as the studio head and the managing director, collaborating with teams across Mumbai and Bangalore to deliver great projects in India. Luca. Sorry? No, I don't need. Okay, the topics that we hope to cover, I've just broken them down for each of us for the audience to understand. We talk about an introduction to collaborative practices, the benefits of collaborations. We're also going to get a couple of experts speak on case studies that will highlight how we're talking about collaborations. Cross-cultural exchanges that, again, we'll use mixture of case studies, which will help us give you that. Challenges and solutions that come from collaborative practices. The impact on the design community, and of course, we can't end it without talking about future direction. So let's get started. Okay, so let's start with using our first topic, which is introduction to collaborative practices. Vandana, let's get started with you. Given your experience, you have more than all of us combined, put together out here, I think. Could you elaborate on how you worked and collaborated with different people in the past? And again, being in the academic field, how is it sort of different, or how have you worked that strategy differently?
I don't think collaboration is a sort of a conscious act that architects, choose to perform. As Salil rightly said, it comes to us as very intrinsic to the way we are hardwired. And the old Sthapatis knew that. And if you saw the way traditionally, historically, Indian architecture was put together, yes, there was the Sthapati, but with the Sthapati were astrologers, with the Sthapati were Pandits, there were craftsmen, there were sculptors, there were workers, bistis, there were all kinds of people who had to work together. So I think we just carry on those traditions in so many ways. It's just that life has become so complex that our collaborations now need to really branch out, and you don't know who you're going to work with next. And I think that's been extremely interesting as a journey for me, because I've been practicing now for 40 years, plus all the years in college and later. And I started life working with Hakusha on a third world village catalog. And Hakusha, if you know him, was an artist and an expert in tribal artifacts. So I will never look back after that. And now that we've reached this, as we went along, and I'll only talk about the years that Ranjit and I set up a practice, we went off to Bhutan. That was our first collaboration. We collaborated with um, two planners, Barjor Mehta, who is now the president at SEP, and Rajni Chawda, who continues to be a senior architect. And so we set up this firm, and the collaborations there were incredible because we had to learn how Bhutanese traditionally built and how their craftsmen work and what songs they sang when they built. So, in the way we came back and we set up this practice, and I started working at KRVI. And that's when the rock bed of my collaboration started, because from 1992 onwards, I was creating my own collaborators as we went along, and a lot of them are sitting here. And you realize that every one of the students that I taught had their own quirky specialities, which you just explained, right? And I could draw on that. I've been very, very fortunate that they allowed me to do so. And so our practice went on getting richer and richer for the collaborations we had. My old boss, Kamu Iyer, always said, you know, an architect is constantly learning, because every project that you take on, you have to become a quasi-expert in that discipline. So if you're doing a clean room for a pharmaceutical firm, you got to know what pharmaceutical firms do and how they operate. And so you're educating yourself. And so for that, this constant learning means you need collaborations. And yeah, so that's how it's been working. Now, to put it on a more formal platform, right now, Ranjit and I are at a point in our lives when, for us, we have the experience, we have the joy of designing, but we know that we need to work with people who can contribute the hundreds of layers needed to make our firms what they are. So we also, of course, we work with structural engineers and MEP consultants and landscape architects. That's one layer. But we also work with all sorts of people who are not your regular part of how our teams are made up. And I think that's exactly what Salil also said, that you never know who you need to collaborate with in the future. And my young collaborators bring, for me, the energy, which I don't think I need right now, you know. I can sit back and say, I'll tell you how it's done, but you tell me how to do it. And that works best for us. I hope I answered that.
Very well. Well said. I think it's interesting that, you know, you mentioned that Sangeet mentioned it, Salil mentioned it. We're still learning, and I think that's the key part of it. And I think it's about learning how to collaborate, which is also going to be important, right? Anand, let's get you in on this. You know, given your experience with KD&D, just want to understand, what are your, you know, in your collaboration, what are the key takeaways that both parties, or in a sense both parties, both the collaborators look for, or what are you expecting?
Good afternoon, everybody. Close to good evening, actually. Right. So before I talk about collaboration, as you asked me about it, I just wanted to say that collaboration is something which is very intrinsic to our existence. Collaboration is the reason why we came into this world. We are the result of collaboration between our parents, you know. So I believe that there's no way escaping that. I think right through the passage of time, from the time we are adolescents to where we stand today, and going forward into the future, you are always collaborating. As a child, between your parents and you, when you are taking instructions from them on how to do things, between your sibling and yourself, when you decide to gang up together and do something which is against the rule books, to where we are today in our professional careers, where whether we are collaborating at a micro level with our teams on specific projects, or let us say it's at a more macro level where it is with other channel partners that we work with at a constant level. So collaboration is key, whether it was back in the days, whether it's now or it's moving forward. I just think the dynamics change over time. and that's how we adjust ourselves to the scenario. Uh, uh, Talking about KD&D, a very dear friend of Vandana, and that is Kiran Kapadia, who's been our mentor in the years when we were in college. And then after our graduation, Shobhan worked with Kiran Kapadia back then. And KD&D actually was a resultant of a collaborative thought process where we felt that we could come together and probably create something which was more meaningful, more valuable, and more importantly, deliver a product which was going to be more qualitative. So Kiran Kapadia's office, Kapadia Associates, was largely doing a lot of large scale, mass housing projects, and the kind of projects that he was dwelling in needed a lot of personal attention given to certain spaces from a interior design perspective, which was a lot of clubhouses, amenity spaces, show flats, sales galleries, which need a lot of micro detailing and also having a better understanding of the interior design market. So that's where I think we came to this conclusion that there was a sort of duality that could, be put into motion. And so Kiran Bhai, as we fondly call him, was obviously the person who took the lead when we initiated this collaboration and this company was formulated. And we as his students and people who were constantly mentored by him, I'm sure he saw some positives in this association. And most importantly, I think when you talk about collaboration between people which are of, let's say, a different age group, as they say, you can have great teachers, but it's also important to be a very good student. And I think that's what we were at the initial phase of our collaboration, where we were constantly learning from him. As we stand today, and KD&D is in the plus of 10, 12 odd years, I think the dynamics have changed. It's obviously there is a lot more mutual respect for each other's way of thinking and operating. And I think collectively we are always looking at putting the project as the hero, and which should eventually be a successful endeavor.
I think you said it right, that we start off with probably when we've all collaborated, we've always collaborated with somebody who's like a teacher to us. And I think at some point, the lines have got blurred, and who's the teacher and who's the student. I mean, I think, and that's what makes them the teachers in the original place, right? They're still learning from us. Yeah, they're still learning from us, and now we are also learning from them. So it's great. Kulin, let's get you in on this from a slight case study point of view. I know you've been working extensively with design teams from across the world, with many of your projects highlighting what you're doing for Facebook and things like that. So can you give us a couple of examples of interesting projects that you worked on and how you did?
And visitors, please be informed that the show will be closing today at 6:04 p.m.
Okay, they're collaborating with us to make sure we shut down quickly. So go ahead.
I've not even started.
Dear exhibitors and visitors, please be informed that the show will be closing today at 6:04 p.m. Thank you for your participation.
They got you at this point of time. So just a couple of case studies, if you can highlight how you guys
Just
worked on
sorry,
this.
sorry. Repeat. I mean, I
So-
completely lost.
So I think if we we know you've been working with international firms in the projects that you've done, and if you can highlight how you worked as a collaborative effort, if you can just give us some examples of projects that you've done which worked collaboratively in the recent past, I think that would be a good start for this.
So before I actually give you examples of project, I think the principle of even what Anand mentioned earlier, I think there is one objective, and that needs to be the project is the hero. So if you have that in mind, yeah. So like the project is the hero. So So even when we did multiple projects across the country for let's say I'll just give you an example of Facebook. Every project or every location had a different architect that we needed to collaborate specifically with architects from the US. So project A, project B, whatever, like, multiple projects, multiple architects working. Objective is still the same. Project is the hero. We had to keep that in mind. So a couple of other things, other learnings. One is that it was a healthy exchange of ideas because our teams got to learn immensely from just the way working styles or how they approach a project, and vice versa. They got a lot of learnings from us in terms of cultural nuances, and sometimes it was fun. It was a lot of fun because they're small things like they'll and just a classic example. I mean, we were designing toilets as mundane as toilets, and they could not understand why we needed to give a health faucet in the toilets. So
Dear exhibitors and visitors, please be informed that the show will be closing today at 6:04 p.m. Thank you for your participation and cooperation.
so so small things like that, okay? I mean, but so their whole intention was dry toilet. I said, no, toilets are not dry in India. They will not get dry. And it was so just these small little differences on how you design and what you design, and it was a lot of fun. So that was one part. The second part in terms of collaboration is it teaches you to listen. It's not always about talking. I mean, you have to listen. You have to listen, and that was
Is that what the guy was telling us? You have to
Yes,
listen. You
yes.
can't only be
Yeah.
talking.
So no, it teaches you a lot of resilience because somewhere egos need to kind of be ironed out at a common platform, and keeping the project in mind, it's done that way. So
I think it's always about putting your ego outside and making sure the project is the king.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether you're right, I'm right, X, Y, Z, but it's the project that has to be the king.
There's nothing right and wrong. It's always about the learning.
Absolutely.
It's always about the learning, and small things like the toilet example. I mean, it's and vice versa. I mean, we also got to learn a lot in terms of what the way simple things like process. I mean, we tend to kind of skip process. We tend to kind of jump steps,
Yeah.
but no. I mean, follow process. It's really helpful.
Interesting. So, Vandana, over the years, you've had so many young architects graduating from under your tutelage as a teacher, and then, of course, people who worked with you have moved on to form their own practices. I mean, there are a few examples that have been awarded in yesterday's awards. There's Brio, there's Red, there's Studio Pod, just to name a few. Just how have these, how have this sort of, how has collaborations been taken into your stride, or how have these relationships, how are you moving forward with your practice, keeping this continuing?
Well, it really makes me feel so good because I think the best thing that I feel about my 40 years of practice is the legacy I've left in the number of firms, and I'm not joking. We've spawned a very large number of firms, and for us that means a lot, emotionally a lot. So, and I'm a people's person, everybody knows it. So when my young architects come back, my students come back, it's always about, I got to do something with you. And for me, it's kept me young. I use AI now. God help me. But that's what collaboration offers me, you know. It offers me exactly what Colleen says, a glimpse into tomorrow, um, without really worrying about it. Colleen goes to Harvard. I just work with Colleen, you know. So that makes life so good for me. No, it keeps us young, it keeps us vibrant. Um, and very frankly, I mean, what does it give my young collaborators? It, I like to think I give them a platform. Not that they need it, they're all so talented and so hardworking. But why not? I mean, there's stuff coming into my office. And if I have a group of young minds who can help me through with it, I see things, I see layers and understandings in my own work, which I would never ever have known if I hadn't worked with these young people. So, I mean, I'm glad they got all those awards.
The young people are no longer young.
For me, I'm so sorry, but it's so hard to visualize all of you as being not young.
So just to, she mentioned about a lot of spawns that have come out from her practice, but we've just come to know that there have been spawns of spawns also. So which is also interesting, right? So I think that's longevity, and of course the resilience that you taught us. So I guess that's great. I think Kulin and Luca, I'm going to get you in on this, and to a certain extent, Kulin, you've already spoken about this in your previous chat. Is given the fact that you guys are working internationally as well as domestically, Luca, I don't know whether you'll call India international or domestic, but whichever way you call it. How is, like Kulin mentioned about the cultural differences about a bathroom, for example. Are there certain specific examples that come up to your mind which talk about these cultural differences or some things that you've learned because of your collaborations between your original work in Italy and Switzerland and then now working in India?
Yeah, so at Ultra Confidential, we are a very multicultural team. We have people coming from different parts of the world, people who have studied and worked in different parts of the world. And that's definitely the thing that I love the most of my job, working and co-working with people which has a very different cultural background. So all of us come with different ideas, different way to approach to the design, to the project. And it's funny to see how for the same project, for the same scope, we really have different way to address the design and every project. And that's the most stimulating thing that I live every day. And yes, especially for our field, we are designers, we are creative minds. I think collaborating with different type of people coming from different environments, with different cultural background, it's very important. It really helps for to come with better ideas, more creative, more innovative, definitely. Coming to my experience in India, well, now it's been almost a decade. I've been here. I moved in India around 8 years ago. I studied in Milan. I studied in Italy. I studied architecture. And early in my 20s, while I was going to university, I was used to travel a lot. And the destination of my travels were never based on the city I wanted to see, the city I wanted to visit, but instead was the architects that the architecture that I wanted to see, the architect's project that I really wanted to see with my eyes. And so I was going there, checking up the details, the architecture, the design, and taking picture, analyzing, the experimental materials, the different details of this beautiful project. And I have this database in my mind, on my camera roll, on my sketchbook of beautiful design details that I've seen across the world. And when it comes to India, for example, sometimes I come on site and I brief my contractor, and I just say, I would like these details to be done like this, like I would like to use these materials in this certain way. And they look at me like very confused, very skeptical. And they're, at first they're saying, no, like this is not possible with the type of technology we have here. You can't achieve this type of details. And so we started discussing and checking things out and sketching things together, breaking literally our brains. And I go back in the night at home and I search YouTube videos on how to do things, how did they actually achieve that? Because there is always a gap between the design vision and the reality, you know, the execution. And when it comes to people coming from different background, different cultural environment, the gap can be bigger, can be larger, yeah. And so I go back in the night, watch on YouTube, like how it can be done, or like taking screenshot of vertical section, horizontal section, discussions. So taking screenshot of conversation on the architectural and design forum, and the after I show up on site again with all this documentation, and they still look at me a little skeptical, but a little less. And we start, so we start like working out things, and we try and try and try, and there's a lot of mock-up sampling, a lot of rejections. And but I see the happiness of in the face of my contractor when they come up with something new they've never seen before, something that's not around. That's fills my heart. And so, yeah, even though maybe we didn't achieve the level of perfection that we were aiming for, we are still happy, even though we haven't achieved the level of perfection we wanted, we were dreaming for. Still happy. We know we raised the bar a little bit, and that's the starting point for the next projects.
I think it's important to start breaking it down into steps and then making sure you reach where you want to reach, right? So I think it's important. Okay. Yeah.
No, I was just to add to his this thing in terms of collaboration and ideas exchange and all of that. Sometimes we just certain products, materials, we just take for granted, and that we're going to use that material in that way. But I think a big learning for our studio was that, there is somebody from outside coming and say, you have the most beautiful material. Why are you using it this way? Why are you not using it in another way? And it just kind of changes the entire thinking.
The way you perceive that material obviously
yeah,
changes,
because we
right?
take, like, even if it's a stone, we take a stone for granted.
Correct.
But then the way that stone is used in various ways, it's very, very interesting. What we're doing, one project outside of Bangalore just now with a British firm, and the way we are working with local materials, we would not have thought of it.
It's also to a certain extent, the availability of the material. So for India, stone is something which is intrinsic to the way we use materials as a stone. Whereas overseas or Europe or America, you'll probably not have stone as easily available. So for them, stone is not for us, if you use a semi-precious stone, it's important. But for them, stone itself is semi-precious. It's like that. So I think that's where the difference arises, and that's how you're trying to finesse the material that much more. So Nishita, I'm going to get you in on this in the sense, you've taken this materiality and you've obviously worked with craftsmen to create some of the products that you're doing as a part of POD. Can you just give us some insights on that?
POD is basically, for everyone who doesn't know, it's a bespoke furniture design company, and it's me with a partner, and we design only swings. And we design only swings and manufacture them, nothing else. About collaboration, I feel one of the greatest collaborations in the world today, is a result of like some mad, mad, crazy, egoistic designers all coming together for one and working towards one goal at the end of it. And I feel that is what makes a collaboration successful, when everybody who's working on it, be it one person, 2 person, or 100, have one single goal at the end of it. You know, the iPhone wouldn't be where it is right now if the sound guy didn't say, wasn't egoistic and crazy and say, I want to create the smallest audio system here. And the screen guy didn't come and say, I want to create the largest screen but the most thinnest phone. And you know, all these people coming together wanting to do what they really are good at and kind of, you know, make a product like an iPhone today. And Pod for us was exactly that. You know, when you meet a bunch of craftsmen who feel that they were underutilized, they had a few tools with them, they had a few materials with them, they had the skill set, but they didn't have the design vision and the knowledge to kind of take that craft into the whole modern lens. And then when you also have, you know, a partner where, you know, you kind of want to take a product that is so, you know, traditional and classic as a jula, which we've seen in almost every single Indian home. You know, we say, let's kind of completely modernize it and, you know, kind of make it a whole, you know, version, a new version of it, a 2.0. When all these people come together, I feel, and work towards kind of creating, you know, what you call your brand ethos or your brand story, I think is when kind of, you know, you make a very successful product out of it. And Pod for me is exactly that. I want to create, me as a person wanted to create modern swings, absolutely modern whimsical swings. My carpenter wanted to create or just make beautiful objects. You know, the other people also working on the team just wanted to elevate what they were currently kind of stuck in a limbo with. So for me, I think the whole collaboration worked very successfully in that way.
Lovely. That's, I mean, we've used a lot of those swings in projects that we do. I'm sure all of us have. So, Anand, I mean, given your introduction that I gave earlier about an artist trapped in an architect's body, how would you like to see I mean, if somebody walked up to you and said, I'll give you a dream collaboration, work with an artist of your choice, whether it be a sculptor, it be a painter, it be a dancer, like your family is already entrenched with a lot of them. What kind of a collaboration would you be excited about, you know, and how would you sort of break it down into parts or processes, as Colin said?
So before I answer this question, I want to inform iDAC that I assure you all we will leave before 6 today.
And the small car
and,
only
and,
will
and
come
yeah,
and pick us up.
we've all decided not to take our cars and we're going to go home walking. So please do not repeat those. So yes, we'll take even time into consideration. Yeah, coming back to your question about collaboration and about the whole artsy side of my personality. Very often
The original side of your personality is the artsy one. The
I
architect
would like
is
to
the,
believe
is the
so.
dual
I
personality.
would like to believe so. And I think I'm constantly oscillating between being an artist and being an architect. And at times I feel there's a sort of subconscious collaboration happening there too. So it's like two personalities or a duality of personality which is kind of working together. I think art, most importantly, allows us and gives us a certain sense of freedom to do certain things which is not driven by pragmatics or not driven by program. Obviously, when it comes to architecture, you know, it gets down to its grassroots of it being realistic, of it being having to be buildable, livable, habitable. So that's where obviously there's a big difference that you see between art and architecture. Well, I mean, I'm always excited about the possibility of, let's say, collaborating with an artist or anyone from another creative field, because I think there are huge parallels to seek between various creative fields, whether it's music, whether it's photography or sculpture, dance. You were talking about my daughter graduated in
Very
dance.
close to you. Very
Yeah,
close to
very
you.
close to my heart. So my daughter graduated in dance, and she is currently touring the US on a dance show. And she and I do have these conversations of how we would probably collaborate someday.
She will always be right.
Yeah, yeah, she's always right. And I probably dreamed that someday, like any client would give me a brief, she would give me a brief for maybe a school of dance that she wants to start. And if not that, if you remember when we were in, yeah, I think they took it seriously. No, so what I was trying to say is that if you remember when we were in school and we were exposed to Astad Debu, for me that was the ultimate kind of amalgamation of art in the form of dance and architecture in the form of those really innovative props that he used to use in his performances, and I was completely enamored by that, and probably we were too young to really understand the dynamics of collaboration that was happening there. Uh, 25, 30 years hence, I dream of such a possibility where maybe my daughter and I would collaborate on something as exciting, as innovative as that. I in fact give his example a lot to my daughter, and recently there was an exhibition which was featuring Astad Debu's life journey, and I made it a point to take her to that exhibition because I thought it would really add to the exposure that new age dancers are seeking in terms of inspiration, in terms of motivation. So yeah, never say no. So I'm hoping.
I know you're never going to say no.
Yeah.
I think you're waiting for that client who's going to fund that for you.
Yeah, yeah. No, maybe she's going to be the client. So I hope she can afford me.
The point is, can you afford her? That's the question.
True.
Fair. So the next point I'm going to sort of raise is slightly critical, not critical, it's sort of controversial a little bit. I think we as architects or we as designers are always paranoid, right? We are paranoid about everything, about who's my client, am I going to do the right job for him, is he going to stay being my client, is the project going to come out right? I think, Luca, I'm going to ask you this, that how do we overcome this paranoia? That's part one. And if, second part is, if you're getting into a collaboration, how do we not think about this sort of paranoia? I mean, I don't know if that question made any sense, but, I'm paranoid about a client, right? So if I'm collaborating with, let's say, Nishita, I'm worried about her taking over my client. How do I alleviate that stress? And Kulin, I know you're not paranoid about these clients, but we are. Most of us are.
So I'm kind of lucky on that side because at our organization, our company, I don't take care of the client relationship. I take care of just of the design part. So that's like a huge, weight that comes out of my responsibility.
Trying to collaborate. Is there a kind of advice you'd like to give a young practice or two young practices who are trying to collaborate on a project?
So a suggestion I would give to a young designer, I'm a young designer myself, but if I have to give a suggestion to a slightly younger designer, I would say just follow your instinct, your passion. Do not be scared just because you're the youngest in the room or just because you are the one with the least experience in the room and you feel like an outsider. Do not be scared to give voice to your opinion, your idea, because we all learn from each other, no matter what our background experience is, no matter what our age is. I think we all can learn from each other. And always question yourself, question your idea, question the way we do things, with the way you have been doing things so far. Yep, that would be my suggestion.
And you're collaborating, I don't think age should matter.
No, I'm asking prior to starting the collaboration.
You're right. Yeah.
What are you
think,
so paranoid
yeah.
about? I mean,
As designers, you're always paranoid
no.
about everything.
No.
About everything. Will the project work? That's the first part.
थोड़ा confidence रखो.
But that's what I'm saying. No, that comes with gray hair or lack of hair, right? So So how do you help somebody who's on the younger side of professionals who?
I think the biggest learning will be this I don't know if paranoia or what, but I think, you know what I mentioned earlier, well, leave the ego out. I mean, that's, you iron out the ego, it all works. Yeah. I don't think there's any issue
I think
there.
that's a good learning point, that you have to leave your ego out, right? That's the important part. Anand?
No, I would simply like to say that collaboration is intrinsically about being fearless, the fear of failure, the fear of things not going in a particular way. So I think you need to kind of overcome that, most importantly. Uh, there was a time where probably a lot of people in our profession or in the field of architecture, they would probably be elevated to a position of being like a demigod, godly status as what we call about it. And of course, a lot of them pretty much achieved that, I would say that positioning. But yes, as they say, behind the scenes, there were a lot of people working parallelly along with them, who were given due respect, who were given due positioning. So as long as I think you believe that there is more right than wrong to come out of a certain equation, uh, I think it's about being positive, most importantly, and testing new waters. I think when you're younger, it's probably easier to do this because you yet don't know, what the future holds for you. As we age, I think it's the realities of experiences that probably would raise that many more doubts in our mind. And as Kulin said, I think it's extremely important to leave your ego, at the threshold when you get into a collaboration. Uh, but I think it's equally important that you should think very seriously about your collaborations, because they will kind of shape the way you turn out.
He made sure he ended his conversation before the message came out. Sorry, I'm waiting for the.
Dear exhibitor, please attention, small vehicles are only allowed after 6 p.m., while heavy vehicles are permitted after 12 a.m. Thank you for your cooperation.
I think I'm going to just simply sum up the conversation that we've had.
Dear
Right?
exhibitor, please attention, small vehicles are only allowed after 6 p.m., while heavy vehicles are permitted after 12 a.m. Thank you for your cooperation.
So, looking at future directions as to where collaborations is going to take us, so I'm going to, Nishita, you're the most media savvy amongst all of us here. How do you perceive social media collaborations that are being undertaken right now? Tricky one.
What do I think about it?
The genuine opinion, please.
Leaving aside, all the riffraff about, just people promoting, brands and just products for the sake of, kind of a monetary barter. I mean, leaving that point aside, but I think social media in itself is where, the action for the newer generation is, and one can't ignore it, unfortunately. I built both my companies, Pod and Studio Nishta Kamdar, on social media. And had it not been for social media, I don't think I would have been, I wouldn't have been here today. So I strongly feel if social media is like a drug, if it's used in the right proportion, to do the right things, it has to get you the best, kind of result. Even if for the smallest example, I mean, like even if, I just want to kind of put it out there that I need advice on this. If I just put something as simple as that out there today, social media gives me great, kind of responses back, and that's where I meet collaborators then, So I feel it just has to be used in the right way.
You want to add?
No, slight not
Yeah.
differing, but
Come on,
you wanted that,
No,
right?
you have to give some
I
masala
I
out
look
here,
at
right?
yeah, I look at social media purely as a monetary transaction. Okay, I don't see it as a collaboration.
No. I'm
So
not.
it's not. I'm not. it's purely I am paying somebody or whatever, I'm using some kind of a service to get my product, service, whatever out there for a larger outreach. And that's how I kind of view social media. Earlier we had magazines and we would print projects in that, and now it's just, I mean, the audience is wider and it's faster and everything is like in almost in real time. So, but I don't look at it as a collaborative approach anywhere. It's just
I'm looking at it because that's what it's called. I'm not suggesting that it's a collaboration. I'm just saying that it's a social media collaboration. By
for want of a better word. Or,
possibly. That's why the opinion. Vandana, any take on this since you're
she's
diametrically
she's not from a
opposite side?
social media.
That's why I'm asking her what is her take on it. You know, I mean,
Well, came from a generation where we could probably avoid, you know. I think we were the last generation of architects where we put up a board and somebody walked in and said, will you do a job for us? Unfortunately, for the younger generation, that is getting harder now. And we had a lot of friendly uncles who said, beta ghar bande. Now, those uncles have disappeared, I think. So life is tougher, and maybe I agree with Colleen in that sense that you need to be visible, and much more than we did. I mean, I think we're probably the last generation of architects who could choose whether we wanted to be published or not. And, you know, we ran a practice. It wasn't about showcasing our work, it was about doing our work. And when a project got over, we got on to the next one. And so this is very different, you know, a vision or different lens through which designers are seeing their work now, that it must have optics, it must be seen. It's a choice, but we had the choice. I don't think a lot of younger designers have that choice, as you very rightly said. And it's not a bad thing. I mean, why not? Yeah.
it's not bad. It's not bad. I don't think there's a good or a bad. To be
I'm just
decided.
not. Yeah, it's not bad at all. I think it's the need, but I don't see it as a collaboration. I just see it as purely as another transaction or another service that one needs to do. Yeah, it's
Fair point. Great. So I think we can conclude this chat. I think we've been given quite an insightful set of comments, thoughts that's come from our esteemed panel I think we've reasonably established that collaboration is the only way forward. I also think that, you know, we've always collaborated even earlier. It's just that we now have a formal name for the word collaboration, in the sense you worked with Kamu earlier, you've always collaborated with him earlier, but it was never formally called a collaboration. You were just, well, that's what I'm saying. I'll deal with you later. So I think, yeah, that sums up this conversation. Thank you, everybody. There was one point at the end which Colin was asking about, and I'm going to, since you asked about earlier, I'm going to put it out there. Any questions here? It's prior to 6 o'clock. We are allowed to use small and big vehicles. But yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, guys.